Well, welcome back. I want to have a conversation today to get you thinking about what is your customer experience. Now, whether you operate a entirely online business or you actually have a storefront where people walk in the door and see your product and see how you've displayed it and see the sights and the smells and the sounds and they integrate with your staff and all that stuff. Regardless of how you operate your business, I want you to think about what that experience looks like. And I want to talk about why it is so important to be honed in on having a positive customer experience. As we all know, if we don't have customers, we don't have sales, and we probably don't have a business. And so, in the competitive world we live in, quite honestly, everyone sells something somebody else is selling. Hey, that's a tongue twister. Everyone else sells something that somebody else is selling. Let's repeat that 5 times. But it's the truth. Innovation comes in the form of experience, not necessarily in the form of exactly what you're selling. So, take me, for example, I'm in real estate. There are thousands, if not millions, of licensed real estate agents in our country and quite honestly, throughout the world. What makes me different? What makes somebody experience with me different than somebody down the street or somebody in another city or somebody in another country? Someone they could engage with virtually and not have to meet face to face. What makes me different? And why would somebody want to experience me in a different way? So let's cover some things to get you started. First and foremost, are you selling through vision? Here's what I mean by that. If you've never sat down and created a vision statement for yourself and your company, now's a wonderful time to do it because that can really help you hone in on what your experience is for your customers. But where is your company going? What is your culture? What is your focus? What do you hope to accomplish by helping your customer on the other side of the transaction? Now, you might be someone that sells, I don't know, hammers or buckets or shoes or donuts or, list a variety of different things you sell or service oriented. You help do social media design or you're in IT, things like that. If your vision is something that you believe and you're passionate about, and that when somebody asks you, "Well, hey, what do?" You don't just say, "Oh, well, I own an IT company." Okay. What does that mean? Does that mean you help fix problems on the backside? Does it means you help your clients integrate better? What is it? What is the vision you have? Where do you hope to go? Where do you hope by when your customers engage with you and interact with you, you hope to take them along that journey too? I want you to think about that because I think if you are committed to the vision of where you're going and where your company is going, you will better integrate your customers into that experience from day one. All right, next. And I know this pertains to a lot of you, especially if you're an independent contractor and especially if you're a real estate agent. But I find this more and more. If you're an independent contractor or you're a solopreneur, meaning you're a one person business, get rid of the Gmail account. I'm just going to call it out right now. Domain names are so inexpensive to purchase, there's tons of websites you can purchase it on, whether it's GoDaddy or Google Domains, or I think it's now Squarespace. Go get a custom domain and you can so easily link it with your Gmail account. I know successful people that could be much more professional and have that better customer experience by presenting themselves in more of a polished front just by having a custom domain. It just flabbergasts me that people still use Gmail accounts. Gmail accounts are great for your personal use, but if you are truly trying to have an elite, professional, profound customer experience, get a custom domain. It'll probably be the best decision that you have, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. Furthermore, I know a lot of people are using, social media pages as a landing site for a web page. It's also very inexpensive to have a landing page. If we think about all the algorithms and where people find us anymore, quite honestly, they find us on their phones. They're out surfing, they overhear a conversation, they see something pop up, they go to their mobile device and they want to Google you and they want to find out, okay, how do I find more? I think that person's name is Kirsten. I don't know. I'm gonna type in some things and see what comes up. The more places you have for your customers to experience you in an online environment, the better they are for them to get in contact with you. So yes, social media is fantastic. Drive them there, but even more so, get that non-Gmail domain name, get a custom domain, feel good about it. And I know when I've created my companies, sometimes I have to get creative on what that custom domain looks like. I want it to coincide with the name of my company, but I want it to be easy to remember and easier to spell. I'll give you another example. So my first name is Kirsten, but every single day, somebody inevitably calls me Kristen because I think it's natural for our brains to get the I's and the R's of my first name flipped around. And I, like to correct people as much as I possibly can, but it never fails that when I get correspondence from people, an email, a text, a social media message, things like that, many times is addressed to Kristen, even though my name is properly spelled. So, one thing I didn't want to do is make sure to point people in a direction where they had a challenging time. Even though my website for my personal site is kirstenflory.com, I think if you Google me, it'll bring you there. But my company is foundationscommercial.com. I wanted something that was easy for people to find, that they understood what we're all about. And once they get there, they get connected to our social media site, but it's a landing page that talks about exactly what we do and why. And so that brings in the visioning statement back to our internet presence. All right, what's next? Let's talk about consistency and repetition of your messaging and your brand. Now, here's another thing I think people struggle with. I think we automatically assume that if we talk about something once, that the whole wide world's already heard about it and they don't want to hear it again. That is not true. Not true at all. In fact, it takes up to 7 times for somebody actually hearing your message, even if it's the same message, but maybe they heard it on Instagram, then they got an email about it, then they saw an ad about it, then they heard it through referral. 7 times for somebody to pay attention and take action on a message. So here's the power you can hone in on. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Don't be afraid to say the same things over and over, because if it's your vision and it's your purpose, of course you're going to repeat those things. So, because what you want other people to do when they hear you and they understand and they say, tell me about that person, tell me about that store, tell me about that product, you want the same message to be consistent all the time, whether it's coming from somebody else who was a past customer or somebody that's just heard of you. You want to have that consistency. So don't be afraid to set yourself on repeat. In fact, a lot of times, if you listen to my podcast before, I use a lot of the same reminders and tips and references. I might tell them a little bit in a different story, but the overriding message is that I'm here to help support your business and help you level up and think more broadly and be more successful. So the more times I talk about things, maybe a little bit in a different way, but my message is still the same. My message is with small businesses. How can we build success together? And so focusing on being specific, don't be worried about being repetitive in both your messaging and your brand. And on that topic, don't be afraid to niche yourself. I know I've talked about this before, but it is so easy to be a yes person. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I can absolutely help you with whatever it is you want, even if it's outside of my scope. This is where doing some strategic planning and especially some visioning and get you into the grain of what you do best and what you need to be focused on. So, for example, I'm a real estate agent. My license allows me to sell residential and commercial real estate. So I have decided to niche myself. I only do commercial real estate. Anytime I get somebody asking me, hey, can you help me buy a house? I'd be like, I would love to refer you to a whole bunch of different agents that are more expert in this area than I am, because it's a different of enough focus. Technically, can I do it? Yeah, I can if you want to get technical. But am I going to be as good as it as somebody that has niched themselves and has an expertise in that area? No. And the same is true for the reverse. Now, I know sometimes you might be in a market where there's not a lot of options. Maybe there's only one IT provider or one real estate agent or one bank or one donut shop, things like that. You might have to get a little creative on what you can offer because your client base might be a little smaller and there's not competition, there's not variety. But realistically, in today's world, you can get anything from the tip of your fingers right from the internet. You can have it delivered to your house. So don't be afraid to say, you know what? Here's how I work the best. Can I do it? Yeah. But my time is best spent, and the mission and vision of what I'm all about in my company, we do this the best. But I would love you to refer you to somebody. That's one thing I hate too. If I can't or not willing to provide somebody with a product or a service, I want to hand them off to somebody that I think that could. Sometimes that's a challenge. Sometimes I have to get creative. Sometimes I have to say, you know what? I want to hook you up with some resources that might put you in the right direction or get you thinking about the next steps so you can tap into those things. So don't be afraid to niche yourself. It creates more of a specialty. And last but not least, how are you recognizing people? I'm talking not just about your clients, but your staff as well. How are you making people feel special? If they have a success in their life, maybe it's not related to your business. Are you recognizing that? Whether it's the birth of a child or a marriage or a big accomplishment. I don't know. They published a book or they ran a 5K for the first time. How are you making people in your world feel special? It is so important, especially with your clients. Because as we know, business is business, sure, and you want to maintain client relationships and grow those relationships, but our whole life isn't business. At least I hope it's not. Our life surrounds around our personal interests, our families, our travel, our hobbies, all those kinds of things. And the more you pay attention to things like that, the more you can be a part of their lives and acknowledge when good things are happening. You're recognizing them. At the same time, if something's bad going, they lost a loved one, maybe they're struggling a little bit with something, reaching out and say, hey, I'm sorry to hear that. How can I help? Or, just a nice word of comfort. I think set you apart because it's not always about the business. The thing I hate the most, I'm sure you do too, is when I am working with and I have people that consider me clients because I they do work for me. Is when the only time I hear from them is when they want something from me. And it's a business transaction. I always love to start conversations with, catching up. How are you doing? Tell me about what you've been up to lately. What do you like to do for fun? What's the most wonderful thing you did over the holidays? Or what do you have in mind for this year? Travel plans? What are you thinking? Tell me about your goals. I want to be more to them than just transactional, and I hope you do too. So, as you think about what is your customer experience, it encapsulates a lot of things. Don't be afraid to be yourself. Don't be afraid to be authentic. And don't be afraid to throw out there and claim your shot, put your flag on the ground and say, this is my vision for what I want to be. And I'm unique and individual, and I'm not afraid to niche it.